And welcome everyone to this masterclass. I really appreciate you showing up and being here and taking this step toward building your business. So to start with, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am, why you should listen to me, and don't worry, I'm not going to make it a 20-minute spiel because we all hate it when people do that. So my name is Stephanie O'Brien, and I wrote my first novel at the age of 12. It was a grand mess of improbabilities fueled by a horrible Mary Sue, but it was still a novel I wrote at the age of 12. Since then, I've written 14 additional novels, 4 of which I've deemed worthy of self-publication, as well as 2 nonfiction novels, one on the subject of sales and one, the one-month program builder book, on which some of the teaching of today is based. So as you can see, I've got a huge amount of experience in taking a large amount of information and organizing it into a coherent step-by-step flow that people can easily follow and understand and put into action. Oh, when I first got into coaching, I was actually working with my mother, who started a coaching business, and I came along with her to learn about the coaching industry and to be the writer for her business. So I was taking that skill that I've been honing over the course of writing 14 novels and turning it into business. So as I was going to these conferences with her, I fell in love with coaching as an industry. I saw all these amazing people who were trying to be their best selves, to make a positive difference in the world, and had all these glorious missions that I wanted to be a part of. And one thing I observed while meeting some of these coaches was a lot of them were big picture people. They had these huge visions for what they wanted to do in the world. And some of them were even good at doing the logistical details with their clients. They could walk their clients through these logistical details. But when it came to their own business, they didn't have that clear vision, that bird's eye view. And when you're in your own business, it's so easy to get lost in the woods. You can't see the forest for the trees. You're bogged down in your own day-to-day schedule. And sometimes you have a hard time figuring out the little nitpicky logistical step-by-step details for your own business. So that's something I started helping them with, whether it was writing materials for their business that they didn't have time or inclination to create, or helping them improve their message, because you know what you're talking about, but sometimes it's really hard to tell if the other person knows what you're talking about because they just don't have your knowledge. And sometimes with helping them to organize their expertise in a way that was easier for the clients to understand and implement. Over the ensuing years, I worked with a lot of coaches, sometimes as a consultant and sometimes as a client. And in the process of working with them as a client, I often found that in the group coaching calls, sometimes I learned more from listening to the other people's journeys and questions than I did with my own. I had times when somebody else would ask a question and I go, oh, I needed the answer to that. I just, it didn't occur to me to ask. So if that sounds like something that you want to do, if you want to create a community of people who can help each other thrive, if you want to serve more people in fewer working hours, if you want to be able to offer a more affordable alternative for people who really want to work with you but aren't quite financially ready for your one-on-one program, and you want to help them, but you don't want to devalue your personal one-on-one time, this is something that would be well worth adding to your arsenal. So let's get started on the one formula for creating the lessons in your group coaching program. So actually what I'm going to do for this to help you to really visualize what we're doing is I'm actually going to start sharing my screen and take you through the process in real time. So I'm just going to start up that screen share and pull up my demo document. I've got the right document here. There we go. So just let me know, can you see my screen? Okay. So step one, I'm going to put my notes here. And so just to make sure, whoops, that's wrong. Sorry, I just grabbed trying to work with 2 monitors here. I just grabbed the wrong thing from the wrong monitor. So I've kind of got my notes here. Sorry about the little bit of disorganization here. So just to make sure, are you still looking at the demo documents to make sure this screen share is working? Okay, good. First time trying to do this with 2 monitors, so it's been a bit of a juggling act. So step one is to list all the steps that your clients will go through in the process of creating their process of getting the result that you promised. So I'm actually going to use my own program, a one-month program builder, as an example of this. So step one that they need to go through is choose their topic. Another step they need to go through is decide what content is going to be included in this program. Because let's face it, you've got a mountain of expertise, but if you try and push all of it into one single program, it's going to be like the everything pill. Nobody goes to the pharmacy looking for the everything pill. If somebody's got a headache, they're going to take the headache pill. So this next step is deciding the info to include. There's deciding the order in which to include that info, so people aren't learning about things that they don't even know how to implement. So another step in that process is making sure that they have all the information they need to understand, to be motivated to actually implement and understand this. Write down, motivate them to consume and implement content. Because how many times have we heard of people, they buy a program and instead of actually using it to change their lives, it becomes shelf help. They think, when I get to it, I'll use it. Maybe next month I'll be busy. But let's face it, we're business owners. Things are always happening. Things are always being added to our plates. So if we aren't motivated to do something and we don't put it in our calendars, there's a pretty good chance it doesn't happen. So one of the things you need to do when you're creating your coaching program is make sure that people are actually motivated to use these lessons. So another thing that you need to do is flesh out that information into easy to follow instructions. So once you decided what all information to include, flesh it out into easy to follow instructions. And of course, there's helping people know how to actually use and apply those instructions. Because even if people know what to do, sometimes they don't know how to do it. And when you're very familiar with the topic, it's so easy to think that you're explaining things clearly. And meanwhile, people are saying, okay, well, I know how to do step 2, 4, and 5 now, but what about steps 1 and 3? So it's so important to give them really specific step-by-step pieces. So there's a lot more steps that we need to go through to create a group coaching program, like adding the bonuses, knowing how to actually package it and flesh it out, or knowing how to package it and describe it. But really, I think you've got the idea of, here's the first step you need to take is just to make a list of all the different steps people need to go through in order to create their result that you promised, whether it's to meet their soulmates, to get more sales, to build a huge email list, whatever it is, just first step, write out all the steps that they need to take. And this doesn't have to be in super detail. We don't want to bog you down with a lot of details about each of those steps right now. Just write out a really quick list of the steps. So the next thing to do is to take one of those steps and break it down into sub-steps. Here's where we start to flesh out the lesson into things that they can actually implement. So let's see, so decide the order. I'm going to choose them. Actually, let's see, pick one of these topics here. So decide what info to include. I'm going to make that the step that I break down into sub-steps. So one of the aspects of deciding what information to include, I'm going to choose this because this is really relevant to this current lesson, is, for one thing, you need to make sure that you have a clear result in mind. So what is the result that you're helping them create with this coaching program or with this specific lesson? So you don't want to be including information that's extraneous to that, because then that can make them go, why is this here? Why am I getting sidetracked with this? Why are you wasting my time? Why am I paying for this extra information that I don't even need? I once bought a training program that was supposed to help me market my fiction books. Most of the content was on how to hire somebody else to write nonfiction for you and then sell nonfiction. I didn't feel like I got more value. I felt ripped off. So choose the specific result and focus on it. Next is kind of an offshoot of this process of walking through the entire. Earlier, you walked through a whole process of what is everything that people need to get this result you promise. Now you need to look at this specific step. What do they need to complete this step that you promise? Let's say, for example, you're a relationship coach who helps people to meet and marry the person of their dreams. So one of those steps is approaching the person in the first place. Let's say you're coaching men. So some of those sub-steps could be, how do you notice what kind of people in an environment, whether it's an outing, a bar, or whatever, how do you notice which kind of people might be the kind of people you might want to talk to? How do you have the mindset that you need to approach them with calm and confidence and, in a way that's appealing, instead of having this, needy or creepy or threatening energy that makes them say no internally before they've even had a chance for you to open your mouth? What is a good way to break the ice? How to know whether they're receptive or not. What's a good way to get the conversation going once you've broken the ice? How do you let the person know that you're interested in getting to know them without coming across as needy or threatening or demanding? So even when you just take one little step in your process, you can flesh it out into this whole series of little things that turns this one tiny bit of your process into a really fleshed out and in-depth set of instructions And that's one of the benefits of zeroing in really hard on a result. If you're kind of going through this exercise and listing out everything out, because sometimes it can be easy for you to forget just how deep and wide your knowledge is. You can get so accustomed to your field expertise that you can think, oh, everybody knows this. This is obvious. This isn't really that valuable. But when you actually list out all these things and then take each step and dive into all the little sub steps that go into this step, you start to realize, wow, I actually know a lot about this. I am actually really an expert in this, and there is a lot in here that I frequently see people demonstrating that they don't know. So this actually is stuff that other people don't know that they need me to teach them. So I want you to, once you, obviously I'm not going to ask you to do it during this master class because that would take too long for the time we have together, but I will encourage you to make a note to yourself to write down that list of steps and then break each single step down into the individual sub steps that they need to go through. Then, with each of the sub-steps, I encourage you to add the following elements to it. One is they need to have like a thing that motivates them to actually go through this step. So start with an introduction. What is this step? Why do they need to take it? What is the benefit of them actually adding this to their arsenal? So that way you help to motivate them to actually implement it. And this is something that you can also include in the emails that you send out to your clients. I encourage you to have weekly emails or so, weekly or so emails that you send to your client list. And that way, you have these reminders to them that, hey, you've got this thing, you need to implement this thing. Here are the benefits of implementing it, so don't procrastinate on it. So another element is having a clear context for what this thing is, why they're using it. The more they have context for why this is important, the more they're able to implement it in their lives. Because when people get instructions and they're just going, okay, I'm being told to do this, but why? Why is this relevant to me? Why do I have to do it in this particular way? Then for one thing, they're less motivated to do it. And for another, they're less well equipped to actually do it in the spirit that it was intended. One of the pitfalls I've seen people falling into in some areas, like say sales, social media marketing. I have no idea how many times I have seen the same canned script on LinkedIn. Strong professional with a demonstrated history of so and so, strong and so and so. I don't know the exact script, but it's if people don't understand why they're doing something, they'll just regurgitate the same canned crap, and it'll come across as canned, and it will not have the great results. But when they understand the actual context of it, when they understand why your method works the way it does, then when they understand why you're including these elements, then they'll be better equipped to actually implement it in the way that's fitting the spirit in which it was intended, but without relying on your exact words or your exact steps. So they'll be able to better tailor it to their unique situation. So the second element is an explanation of when and how to use each sub-step. Because if somebody, say, tries to use the wrong icebreaker at the wrong time, then they're just going to come off as awkward and weird. Or if somebody tries to use the wrong sales script at the wrong time, once again, they'll come across as canned. So help them to understand with each step or with each script, etc., when and how is the best time to use it. Here are some questions that you'll need to answer about a lot of your sub-steps. What is it? What situations would they use it in? What are the principles? And what are some of the pitfalls to avoid while using it? What are some of the common mistakes that you see people making while using the sub-step? And how do they avoid making these common mistakes? And why are they mistakes? Sometimes these things, people make these mistakes because they look like a good idea at the time. So help them understand, why is this not a good idea? And what are some of the best practices to keep in mind while implementing this stuff? Are there ways that are especially effective that might not be immediately obvious? Let them know about that and walk them through it in detail as if you were talking to somebody who had never even heard of this field before. If you were talking to an alien who'd never even heard of this field of expertise before, how much detail would you go into? Go into that kind of detail. And it's better to give people some information that they already had than to leave them without information that they need to get the result. And then give some examples of people using it. These don't have to be real life examples, they could be fictional examples. But the important thing is the human brain works in stories. It's why anecdotal evidence is so much more emotionally compelling than data encompassing thousands of people. People will get more fired up about a story about one person being killed than they will about a news event when the people dying are just the number 2,000. So people work in stories, so give them stories of people using it. Here's the story of Pete walking up to Mary in a bar, and here's the story of his conversation with her, and here's why each part of that dialogue in the story was effective, or here's examples of how his dialogue went awry and how to avoid that mistake. So in my 1 month program builder template, I actually, you give an example of all these elements, or actually I can include all these elements to help people who are using this template to actually implement it effectively. So element 3 for helping people to use your instructions is a specific exercise for implementing each step. And one of my favorite self-help books is Love for No Reason, specifically because it doesn't just tell you what to do, it gives you very specific actions, movements. It tells you exactly do this with your body in order to relax, or use this mantra in order to kind of snap yourself out of this mindset of anger and frustration. So the more specific the exercises you can give them, the better. Don't ever leave them thinking, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do, but how? So your client's ability to actually get results depends heavily on this. Element 4 is helping them to integrate earlier advice into each lesson, because especially if it's a longer course or if it's really complex, people can feel like they're drinking out of a fire hose, and they might forget the earlier parts. So maybe they remember to use half of your sales script, but not the earlier parts. So anytime you have an opportunity to kind of integrate earlier advice into the later lessons, that's a good do so if you can. Don't get unnecessarily repetitive, but periodically remind them, okay, you remember this thing I taught you earlier? Here's how you tie it into this current lesson and use it to enhance the effectiveness of the current lesson. So I encourage you to, if you're thinking of creating a group coaching program, or even if you just need to remind yourself of the depth of your expertise, if you need to get a whole bunch of content for your newsletter and social media posts, if you want to write a book and want to create the chapters in that book, I encourage you to just go through these steps that I just gave you, write down all the steps that your clients need to go through in the course of creating or in the course of creating this result. Take each of those steps, break it down into sub-steps, and include those elements of why they need to do it, to time and situations they do it in, the specific exercises they need to do it, and any information from your earlier materials that they need to get the best results from it. So that's the basic method for creating sorry, kind of tripping all over the place. That's the basic method for turning your expertise into the lessons in a group coaching program. So I'm going to open this up for Q&A. Does anybody have any questions?
I was going to say that I like the idea of the sub steps because, I mean, of course, initially, you understand when you're creating a program, you have to, come up with certain steps, but actually like breaking them down into smaller and smaller steps, I think just will help the person who's creating the program just create it more efficiently, because you have it in your head what you want, but then as you're breaking down steps, you're actually making yourself go through the program as well. Like you said, I like the idea of what you said, like pretend you're talking to an alien and just, explain it, or like a 2-year-old, like you're explaining it to them, step by step by step to get them to understand. Because like you said, when we're experts in something, we kind of forget that not everybody knows
Oh,
everything we
yeah.
know. So I think that's very important to get into the mindset of you're speaking to somebody who knows nothing about this topic, and then go from there.
Well,
So,
thank you so much for the feedback. And I totally agree. Having this process really helps you turn this huge amorphous blob of stuff I know into a really clear, coherent set of, okay, here's a whole list of what I know in black and white where I can easily access it, see it, flesh it out if need be. Of course, having some of it
right.
written down can help you to notice, oh, wait a minute, there's a gap right there. Oh, here's another thing I
Mhm.
know that I can put in that gap.
Right, right. And I think, like you said, you talk about like writing books. I think if you get very specific with and detailed with a group coaching program, it might actually be easy to turn it into a book, eventually down the line if, you have all the steps written out, and then you get feedback from people in the program and you can tweak it. And then I can see it actually, in the future becoming a book.
Absolutely. And it also work in reverse order. If you feel more comfortable getting it written down first. I actually wrote my 1 month program builder book before I launched the group coaching program for it. And I was
Okay.
actually looking at the book document while I was going through this just to
Doing
make sure I had
doing the
everything memorized.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
So
I
this,
think I can see how one could go into the other for sure because you're doing all the legwork, I mean, you're
pretty
doing all
much.
the laying down the tracks before, step by step. So I like it. I think it's a good idea. I mean, for me, who I never really considered doing a group coaching program, I kind of had in my head just the program and all the steps, but with breaking it down even more, I think I can reach more people because, like, doing one-on-one with somebody, you're able to help them more through the steps. But if they're going to be more on their own a little bit, you do need to write down step by step by step so that it's easier for them to manage for
Absolutely.
sure.
And with one-on-one, you've got a bit more of a back and forth here. You've got them asking questions, you've got you answering questions. But in a
Right.
group coaching setting, you might not have quite as much actual interaction. You might not be able to base it as heavily on that back and forth. So you need to have the whole curriculum together without depending on the clients to supply you with the questions to make sure that
Right.
everybody can get everything they need. And there's still going to
Mhm.
be other elements that you need to take care of. Like there's still probably going to be people who have questions, and that's one of the things I actually help people with in my group coaching program, 1 month program builder. I help them
Mhm.
to manage their group coaching calls in a way that helps them to give everybody the individual attention that they need to actually get the feedback and guidance that they need without having to take such a huge amount of time that it negates the whole benefit of having a scalable group program. And of course, I help them
Right.
to make sure that there isn't dead air and awkward silence in their calls. In fact, I think this is a good time to talk about a bit about 1 month program builder so that people can get a whether both you and the people who are going to be watching the replay can get an idea of what's available if they need further
Mhm.
support with this.
Okay.
So, yeah, as of today, I'm launching my program, 1 month program builder. This is called 1 month program builder because the fastest I've ever taken a group training program from zero to launch was 1 month. So in this program, I understand that not everybody can completely solely prioritize this for 1 month, especially if you're just starting right now and you hadn't previously been planning and setting aside time for it. So in order to help people get all the support they need, I'm actually running this program for 3 months. So if you sign up today, you're going to get 3 months of coaching. That's 1 call per week for 3 months, and that way, even if you can't cram it all into just 1 month, you're still going to have the support you need to go through the entire process. So that's 12 calls, and that would normally be a $2,400 value, but you're going to get it for a whole lot less than that. In addition, you'll also get lifetime access to the 1 month program builder book. So you've got that set of step-by-step instructions written down with screenshots from some of the technological aspects, like recording any audios for your business and creating slides. And you'll have access to that for life. In addition, you'll also get access to my mini course on how to enhance the value of your coaching program by creating bonuses. Bonuses can be a huge value add because for one thing, they can help to do some of the client's work for them, which saves the client time, gives more value, and helps to make sure that the job is done right. It can also save them time they spend on guesswork. Stuff like scripts and templates can save them a lot of time and guesswork and stress over, oh, am I doing this right? Because they already know that the experts done part of the work for them. I'm going to teach you in this mini course how to create the bonuses for your coaching program so you can make buying it a no-brainer for your potential clients and blow your current clients' socks off with the value you're giving them and give them results that they'll be raving about to future potential clients. And on top of that, I'm also going to give you a template you can use it's basically a fill in the blanks template that you can use to create your own group coaching program. So you don't have to figure out the sequence of information from scratch. So the coaching would be a $2,400 value. The 1 month program builder book and template normally sell for $30, and the mini course is for a $400 value. And you can get all of that for $1,500. So that's about, let's see, just the coaching calls alone would be $900 in savings. If you add on all the other bonuses, that's
Mhm.
well over $1,300 in savings. So, and the first 3 people who sign up for this get one additional bonus, a 30-minute coaching call with me, because just in case you have gone through all the group coaching calls, you've gone through all the material, you're launching your course, but then something else comes up. Let's face it, when we're doing something new, it's really easy to think we know everything, and then the actual nitty-gritty process of doing it, more questions come up that you didn't see coming earlier. So for an additional month after the 3 months ends, the first 3 people who sign up will still be able to get a half an hour free coaching call with me to get any of those lingering questions answered. So I'm going to just pull up the link and put that in the chat just to make sure that everybody has access to it. I'm going to stop the screen share for now.
Okay.
Of course, it doesn't want to pull up the chat when the screen shares up.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Okay, there's the 1 month program builder. So anybody who wants to access it can click it in the chat. And for the replay, I'm going to have this link along with the replay so that people can access it.
Okay.
So that's what's currently available. That's how I can help you if you need some additional help in getting your group coaching program put together. So are there any questions about that so far?
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of different parts, and if you were like, how do you do you do you sell them like separately, or you're doing it like all the pieces together for that price?
For this price, all of those pieces are together. If people can get the book and the mini course separately, but that doesn't come with the ongoing personal support that they'd be getting through the group coaching calls.
Mhm. And how much would the book and the other, you said the book and did you say the template or the book
The
and
mini course,
something?
okay, the book
The mini
normally
course.
sells at the, okay, so the book is for 300, or for the book and the template come together for $30. And for the mini course, yeah, that's about $400 value. But you can, people who are on Skillshare can actually watch it with their Skillshare subscription. So if you want to, I could give you a
Okay.
link to get on Skillshare.
Mm-hmm.
But people who sign up for this program with the coaching, they get that added in for free. They get the mini course, the book, and the template thrown in for free, on top of getting a huge discount on the live coaching.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they get lifetime access to the mini course, the template, and the book, and 3 months of access to the live coaching.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
for explaining that.
you're welcome. And for those who are watching the replay, if you are thinking about doing this, but you're not 100% sure, and you just you think this would be valuable to you, but you're just not sure that you have the time for it, that you have the budget for it, that I'm the right teacher for you, or that this is the right time for you to do it, I'd be happy to get on a half-hour call with you and just help you explore your circumstances and get clear. This is not going to be pressuring you. I hate it when people go, oh, run to the back of the room and get my product, or you're going to fail in your business. No,
Yeah.
I get it. There are lots of coaches out there. There are lots of programs. Everybody and their dog says they're what you need for your business. Maybe I'm what you need, or maybe it's time to prioritize other things. The important thing is, if this is the right next step for you, I don't want uncertainty or hesitation to hold you back from doing something that's good for your business. Because let's face it, we're human. We have human brains, and human brains will try to persuade us, no, don't do this new thing. It might be uncomfortable. You might not have money. You might not have time. It's new. You would go like the cruise. And then she saw something new and died.
Right.
So if this looks like it might be good for you, but you're not quite sure about the logistics of it, or if it's right for you, I'd be happy to get on that half-hour call and help you just work through the logistics of it, the timing, the money aspect, whatever aspect is making you unsure about it, and help you make an informed decision about whether it's right for you. So on that sign up page that I put in the chat, there's going to be a link to my Calendly. So anybody who wants to get on that call with me and to determine whether it's right for them can do so.
Okay.
Awesome. So thank you very much for being here in person, Nadej, and to anybody who's tuning into the replay, thank you very much for checking this out. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope to help you further in the near future. In the
Thank
meantime,
you. Thank you.
you're welcome so much, Nadej. So any closing questions before I end this call?
No, I think the only question I had, I think you had mentioned something about an email, like to help your clients further with like sending them emails to remind them how the program is going. And I think that was a good idea as well.
Yeah, I think once people are enrolled in your program, it is good to send them those reminder emails like, hey, lesson 1 is coming out today. Here's what you're going to learn. Here's how to
Right.
access it. Whether it's a call-in link or a link to a page on your website where they can get all their downloadable bonuses, or both. It's just good to have those regular reminders. And of course, any additional ideas you come up with, like, hey, the topic of today's lesson is so-and-so, and here's an additional bit of information that can help you to implement it at its best. So that could be, handy, especially in case people say have a malfunction, lose the link, make sure that they have the link for each week's call.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a great idea. So thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate your feedback. I appreciate you taking the time to be here, and I hope you found it helpful.
I did.
Oh,
Thank you,
good. You're
Stephanie.
welcome. So I'm going to end the call for now. And in the meantime, I hope you have an awesome day, an amazing weekend. Stay in action, and let me know if you have any other questions or if any other needs come up.
Will do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye for now.
Bye.